Okay, I want to pick up from last week's podcast first. So if you're following along with us, you want to go to the last episode, and you will have heard at the very beginning we were talking about the lemon race. We were talking about your Beetle. You got it on the track. I want the world to hear what happened on the track.
So this was last night, and this literally was the culmination of 2.5 years that I've been on about this and trying to badger people into doing it. And last night we finally got the car out on the track. And I've got to say, it's quite an emotional moment, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of pushback in different directions that you don't really expect. And so it literally is, we call it the Beetle Banger series.
The Beetle Banger series,
Yeah,
okay.
for the simple reason that my car is 21 years old.
Oh my, nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
so it's not the Beatles of the classics that people remember from the 1960s and 70s and earlier than that. This is the Beetle, they call it the new Beetle.
The new Beetle, okay.
Yeah. So, which basically is like the shape of a beetle, but it's a golf underneath, was the idea. And to give you an idea, I picked mine up for 1,500 dirhams.
Okay, so
Yeah.
fairly economical. How much has gone into getting it roadworthy so you can actually drive it and it'll start? And
Oh, not that much, 10,000.
okay. Okay. Yeah.
So, but the way that I bought it, it had been sat in a car park in Garhoud.
Yep.
Well, he told me 2 years, but the last receipt I could find was like 3.5. Okay. He told me, oh, it might overheat a bit. No, the engine's dead is what actually happened. Now, I'm sure everybody out there has got 6 engines, so like me, so I just grabbed an engine and in it went. But then, you've got to be realistic with yourself and get it reliable and safe. I've got other people and friends of mine who are going to be driving that car with me, and I'm going to be in the passenger seat sometimes. So we did that. So last night was that culmination, and we had this most unbelievable 2 hours beforehand. So it started at 6:30. Okay, I'm talking to the Powerworks team. Shout out to Glenn and DJ and the boys. Through the day yesterday.
They're also competitors in this series.
They are. Yeah. Their car hopefully is coming soon. So basically the conversation started at about 2 o'clock. Boys, you got this under control, and it's all right. We can't get the passenger door open. You what? Yeah, no. You know when you list how you said it was a bit sticky? It's not opening at all now. Anyway, so immediately you've got pictures of, right, we're all upside down, it's all kind of a little bit wrong on its side, and the one door we can get out of is the passenger. Oh, no, actually, really sorry, chaps, but we're not getting out of the car after all because the passenger door doesn't open. So we had that was basically the burning issue. Now, the problem was, normally when a car comes back from Powerworks, it is beautifully washed, and they give you a warning if there isn't much fuel in it. Okay, so remember, 6:30 is when we need to be on track, okay? 4:30 comes. Do you think you've got it? I'll call you back in 10 minutes. 20 minutes later. So then, boys, how's it getting on? Well, we have managed to get the door open once. Oh God, here we go. Anyway, and then we got to 5 o'clock and they said, right, okay, we've got the temporary fix worked out. And we were kind of talking about different scenarios and how this could work.
Bungee cord come into that somewhere?
If only, it's got electronic locks. In 2000, they had electronic locks.
It's a car's ahead of its time.
Oh man, so frustrating. So what we worked out, the workaround was, don't lock the car.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, so we didn't, and the door worked perfectly throughout. Actually, I did tell the boys, because you've got to in this scenario, but we just left that door as it was. Yeah. But the night was just incredible because I couldn't believe that this 21-year-old car was as good as it actually was. Nothing broke, and we were flat out.
That is an indictment of the car. Nothing broke.
No, but if you imagine what we're doing to it, we are racing the car flat out, right? So we are redlining it in every gear. We're as late as we can be on the brakes. We've got, it's utterly insane. And we were racing against Corvettes and Porsches, right? And we overtook 2 Porsches. Absolutely unbelievable. So on the straight, our little 2-litre got just left behind as if we were stationary. But the thing was, as soon as it got twisty, all these big heavy cars could not get round it. And we were screaming around the rest of the circuit. So we get lost for dust on the main straight. And before we got round to the main straight again, we were right on their tails. It was incredible. So we did 75 minutes of racing there.
Wow.
Which for those who have actually raced, you are caning your car. It's like the equivalent probably about 30,000 kilometres, I'd have thought. And it was just as good at the end as it was at the start.
That's incredible.
I know, it was. It was absolutely incredible. So now...
So there must be some very upset, muscle cars out there.
We were crying with laughter as we were going around when we were on the tail of this Corvette. It was just unbelievable, a brand new Corvette. And literally one guy made the calculation that apparently it was 1,000 Beetles for the equivalent of the Corvette. And we were loving it way more than he was. It was just phenomenal. And and again, the other two drivers that were with me absolutely adored it as well. And now it's just a question of getting to 10 cars. That's the key. Yeah. So the second car's on its way, and there's a little bit of a delay on the others. So now I'm going to spend some time to get the other teams into my car so that they can experience it. Because when you experience it once, you'll get your credit card out immediately, and then we'll be all good. But it was an amazing start, over the moon.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's exciting. That's absolutely exciting. Where do we want to go from this? Where do we want to lead in? What a nice lead in to our conversation.
Yeah.
I want to start talking about just general maintenance issues that we all have.
I don't know. I've got a segue. Are you ready for this? Yeah. So the theme of that was reliability, wasn't it?
Yeah, there we go.
And reliability comes from maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been doing for the last sort of 4 months or so. Since the car's been running, I've had my the driving team. We've used it as a parts car in effect to get that reliability. Yeah. It's exactly the same when you're at home and with your maintenance requirements in a home environment. If you don't build in reliability, you'll have a nightmare, without a doubt. And this is something I've spoken to you about when I move properties. It's always the same scenario. So, no matter who's had it before, I can guarantee a minimum of 6 months of nightmares of all the things that you're trying to find.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But then what happens is, if you imagine, before I move into somewhere, I do an enormous amount of maintenance on it to make sure that it is as good as I can get it. But there's shakedown time, the same as my Beetle, where you've just got to spend that time to make sure that everything is absolutely utterly right, and then just go through it and keep going.
And the thing is that once you start doing your annual maintenance or your biannual or 3-4 times a year, you have to keep up on everything, because it doesn't then just last forever.
No, absolutely not.
Which I think we forget.
Yes, you do. When something's not breaking, you automatically assume everything's okay. And again, the Beetle will be going in tomorrow to get a full strip down and make sure that everything is okay, so that we know for sure that things are in the right place, so it will be reliable for the next one. Exactly the same with our home. So we say to people, for your ACs, your AC is working harder and harder from the day it's been serviced. As the sun just starts to seep into it, you're still getting the same level of cooling, but the AC compressor and the AC unit as a whole is working harder and harder as it starts to get choked with sand.
And that's exactly what happened to me over the weekend. Thursday evening, 10 o'clock at night, walk up into the bedroom, it's blowing hot air. I'm walking up the stairs.
Oh, no, master bedroom as well.
Yeah, I'm walking up into the master bedroom and it's hot. And I'm going, oh, this is odd, because I turned that AC down. And so it's 10 o'clock at night. I climb up on the roof. Yeah. We got a ladder there, so you can do that. So I climb up on the roof going, well, this is really weird. And I head over to the unit, it's not on. So, first thing I do is I climb back down the roof. I go and check all of the circuit breakers just to see, okay, did a circuit breaker pop? And no. And I'm going, oh, this is terrible. So, we put in the call. Of course, the guys can't come for a day because, and then this one struck me as very interesting, because we have an ad hoc service guy. Yeah. And we have an air conditioning service group that come and do the stuff. So I call the emergency number.
Did anyone answer?
Yes.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah. They answered, and then I said, "So I need someone to come out tomorrow." Yeah. Oh, tomorrow's the weekend. And I'm going, and my response is, "Isn't this the emergency number?" It's like,
when we say emergency,
emergency means
standard operating procedure is within 5 days.
Yeah. So it took an extra day. So finally, the guys do come. Yeah. And of course, I'm now calling just to remind them, because I'm thinking, what's the possibility that the person I've spoken to on this emergency number says, yes, sir, and they know the address and they know where we are and they know that we're long-term clients because we've been using them forever because they're who my landlord uses, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so they show up. It's fine. And so they walk through.
Oh, they did show up?
Oh, yeah, they finally show up.
On time?
Yeah, they came in the morning when they said they were going to come, pretty much.
What, your booking slot was, we'll be there in the morning?
Yeah.
See, at that point, my head's exploded.
Well, it was. Fortunately, I was home, and this was the thing. I said to them, look, this is the only day I'm home in the morning, so it's got to be today. And I'm saying to them, look, I know what time you guys start working. It's getting hot out. Someone's got to go up on that roof. I'm just thinking of you guys.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Be here on time.
So they did show up, but unlike your lot, who at least you have a time when we'll be there at 7:30, we'll be there at 9 o'clock. At least they didn't have a time, so that just frustrates me to no end.
So we have like a 10-minute allowance,
right?
Okay.
But I know for a fact, you guys will call and say, hey, we're going to be late.
Absolutely. Anything more than 10 minutes, and you have to call the customer. It's like that is one where I will lose my happiness with whoever is involved if that isn't done, because that is a basic courtesy.
Yeah.
That I've never got the hang of that in the UAE. We're talking about the UAE today, aren't we? Earlier on. No, I haven't got the hang of that in the UAE. We'll be there in the morning. Do you know the one that really gets me?
No.
The delivery slot.
Oh, yeah.
Sir, would you like a delivery slot from 9 in the morning till 6 at night?
That's all day.
No. How's about, I understand your delivery service, so on that basis, I'll give you an hour. How's about between 9 and 10? Oh, no, I'm very sorry, sir.
Can't do it.
No, it's 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. What?
Yeah.
How do you run a business like that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to name them on the basis of the previous conversation, but yes, not something that I can get used to, and therefore it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Traffic happens sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But we allow for that.
Well, you plan into it. You know the traffic is going to happen.
Yep.
You know the traffic at different times of the day, so you can plan accordingly.
And you know, our normal phone call in that scenario is, hello, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. Our team are running a little bit early. And on that basis, we can happily wait for you to the time that we specified, or alternatively, if it worked for you, we can be with you 15, 20 minutes early.
Yeah. And who's going to say no?
Well, the people who are not home are going to say no, and that happens now and again, but normally it's a really lovely conversation to have.
Yeah.
But what a great start, as far as I'm concerned, to be having that conversation
Yeah.
rather than the opposite one, which is really sorry, but the job's overrun.
Yeah.
And that does happen, and we have to have that conversation too, because we try and book at like as close to 100% efficiency as we can. But you know, it's one of those, and especially when it comes to AC in your scenario.
Well, my scenario was I climb up on the roof. I noticed that, it's...
Oh, with them?
Oh, I go up too. And when,
you do, don't you? I
Oh,
forgot
yeah,
about
yeah.
that. Good on you.
You know, and I always feel a little bit bad about that because I don't want them to think that I'm standing over their shoulder.
But you are.
But I am standing over their shoulder.
Exactly.
And part of it is I just want to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like when I go to the doctor's office, you know, and the doctor's talking about stuff. I'm asking a million questions.
If you're giving me an injection, I'm giving myself an injection.
Yeah, it's like, okay, hold on a second. It's like, hold on a second. Let's have a little chat about this. Why am I getting this one? And what about this possibility? And what about that? And hold on.
Dr. Google says, oh, man.
No, seldom do I do that. I just use the common sense. It's like, I got a few questions here.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, oh, okay, hold on a second. But do we, you know, if it's one of those virus versus bacteria things, it's, we're just going to give you this as a precaution. So, hold on a second. But do we know that I need that? Because if I don't need that, and it's just a precaution, what are we precautioning against? And is it not? And they're like, well, you got a point there.
Well, they do. They're pretty injection happy here, or drug happy, aren't they?
Yeah, sometimes.
You have to be a little bit careful with that.
Yeah. So I climb up on the roof with him.
Yes.
Because we've done now the walk around, and he's checked stuff out, and we climb up, and the first thing that they're looking, they're going, this is kind of weird, and they're checking it out, and they clean the unit upstairs first. They've taken, so the guy's up there first and he's doing stuff.
This is really interesting because...
They had taken all sorts of stuff apart and he had been probing in with his...
Yeah. But it's an odd start point because if the outdoor unit is not operating, yet it hasn't tripped, then that is a really odd combination.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally in that scenario, if the unit is not cooling, then it's due to a number of really basic factors, which is the compressor is either overheated or died, in which case, as it dies, it basically goes bleh, throws out a huge current which will trip the board.
Right.
Alternatively, the outdoor fan motor fails, at which point the hot air which is inside the condenser can no longer be dissipated. So the compressor
and they did check that. They were looking at that.
So the compressor goes, oh, that's too much for me to handle, blah, and then there's that power surge and it gets knocked off again. So the only other one, which is an interesting scenario, is a capacitor normally, which, did you see a little round cylindrical item with some points on the top?
Absolutely.
Well, that's the capacitor. I would have thought that was a capacitor failure as a standard scenario.
And they did check that as well. And then there seems to be another fail-safe on this unit. It's a nice Linux system. And what was happening was the compressor was coming on.
Yeah.
There was way too much sand blocking the cooling fins.
Yeah.
The compressor was heating up and it was shorting out on it at this other point on the machine, where it's got another breaker.
That's really, really odd. But Lennox are like the Rolls Royce, as we mentioned before, like the Rolls Royce.
And so it would hit the thing and it would just turn off the compressor.
Wow, that's an awesome fail.
That's what I said. I said, really?
Yeah, but that's not standard at all.
Well, and the guy was looking at it and he was saying the same thing. He says, this is unusual.
Yeah, it's super cool unusual.
Yeah, he said, cool because it really does work well. So it saves, because he was doing the same thing. He's going, because he was looking at all these things, and then he's checking. They're checking the compressor out, and they're going, well, "That's weird," and they're checking the fan out, and then they're looking at it. And it would just trip it off.
Oh, that's really cool.
So
then that saved your compressor. Literally.
So then they came up and they did the whole cleaning of it, which took quite a while. And I'm up there when they're doing that as well. I'm looking and going, man, that is an exceptional amount of sand coming in.
And how long was it since you'd
2 months.
Okay.
That's what I said to him. I said 2 months, and they because they're there, they serviced them all.
Yeah.
And the other units didn't have nearly the amount of sand. So I don't understand. This one's located in a slightly different part on the roof.
That makes a massive difference. See, it's interesting though when you throw out the fact that we haven't had a shamal.
No.
We haven't had any real issues recently.
No.
And it was only that one.
Just the one.
Was it, out of interest, was it near the edge of the roof and near a wall as well?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So if you imagine in that scenario...
Near the edge and the wall.
Yeah. So in that scenario, what normally happens is between the unit and the wall is where all of the sand kind of gets stored that's got in... Your roof acts like a bit of a bucket if it's got an extra lip above the floor level of the roof itself. So it then gets pushed up to the side, but then conversely, because the unit is positioned quite close to the wall, it actually works as a funnel when the outdoor fan motor comes on to actually funnel it into the unit. So as it funnels, you get additional pressure of the air, which then sucks the sand into the unit, creating what you had.
There we go. That's probably why I did it.
Gee whiz, Jeeves.
So my thing was, I'm looking at this and going, so I should really come up and clean these things, more often. And his response was, he said, you could, but he says, if you hit the electrics on this thing, you're going to cause yourself a heck of a problem.
Well, he's basically been quite nice there, because you have got three-phase electrics in that situation, 415 volts, that will kill you before looking at you.
Yeah.
And I know of that happening in Dubai. Wow. I know of people who've actually been thrown off the roof by the jolt that was there. I've had my senior technician, who was, before he worked with us, was with a junior technician who touched the wrong wire, and he got the electric shock actually pulled him into the unit. And the only way that he could solve it was to kick him extremely hard with his rubber boot to get him physically disconnected from the unit. And he was in hospital for a long old while. Wow. But most AC techs have got that story. So
don't clean it yourself.
Technically, I think it's important to say you could actually do it if you really knew what you were doing and you isolated it correctly and you were really careful with how you used the water. But then the other thing, there's a technical side to this as well, which is To get a hose, the ideal scenario here is to use the hose to hose off the condenser coil.
Yeah.
If you don't have the pressure, enough pressure, you'll find that it doesn't get rid of the baked-on sand, which is what's causing the major problem on the loose sand that's there. If you have too much pressure, there go all your fins.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So then you ran into a problem where you've wrecked.
Oh, you've wrecked the unit. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, so you are buying experience by getting a qualified company to come out and look at it. And obviously, I am going to say that because that's what I run.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't like killing people.
Right.
It's not ideal. Yeah. So on that basis, it's one of those jobs that it sounds like it's something that you should be able to do, but in the practical reality, just don't do it. It's just not worth it. It really isn't, unless you really know electrics. And I'm not talking wiring up a plug. Like you really have experience and you have ideally qualifications in that field.
It was so the air conditioning's back working.
Yay!
And all is happy and it's cool. But I got to tell you, we changed rooms, so we do have a spare room. So we were in the spare room. And it's nicely equipped, but man, it's not the same sleep.
As well as the units and cleaning the units, did they actually clean up the roof area around it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so they've done a proper job there.
Yeah, they sweep up and they wash up and
great.
Because
you want to get rid of that sand that's caused the problem in the first place, and that's a large part of what our boys will do with an AC service.
I was just amazed at how much sand was in this one unit versus the other three.
Yeah. Oh, here's another classic, which you've got to be really careful with. And again, my boys are told frequently to be really careful with this. Which is, if you imagine on the roof area when they've cleaned everything down, all that sand is going into your roof drain.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're not going to know that there is a problem there until the rains hit. And what actually happens is that area acts like a bucket.
Right.
And then it just can't, when all the sand's in it, it can't get rid of that sand quick enough to let the water get through at the rate that's needed, which therefore means that the water level rises. We had this at the last property. Well, actually, no, we did get to the end of it.
The water level was rising on your flat roof?
Yeah.
No.
But that was, and we'd unblocked all of the drain lines, and then it would trip out the ACs one at a time.
And you're like to have yours at like 14 degrees Celsius.
Right? She's still not changed. It's a nightmare. Literally. It's just ridiculous.
So the water would rise on the roof and trip out your AC?
Yeah, on a decent thunderstorm, without a doubt. But the problem is I'm not even there. I'm round at my mother-in-law sorting out her place normally. Yeah. So, and then I literally come back to this. So I'm going from one nightmare to another, trying to get it all sorted out. And so this one, actually I don't think we didn't have a big rainstorm last year.
We had none last year. Zero. Can you imagine an entire year with no rain?
That's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, we'll find out whether or not this one's got a similar problem. As it's 300 yards away from the old one, I don't fancy my chances, to be honest. But all fun and games, isn't it?
Yeah. What's going on in the office? What's big?
It's been a weird week, to say the least. First of all, we're rammed again, which is bizarre.
Good. That's
good.
It
is, but then the temperature went down a couple of degrees. So I was planning for the worst, and actually it's been incredible. Really great week. We've also had odd issues this week.
Okay, that's got to be kind of fun.
Well, yes and no.
Okay, so yes for the variety, the no because
the jobs are nasty.
Oh,
it's like underground leaks. Okay, water supply underground leaks. So
after the water comes. Oh, you see, that's the worst.
So these people have already just had a horrendous DEWA bill that's just come in for like 15,000, and that wasn't a bad one. I heard one for 28 last night. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And then they've just had that. And then for us, in effect, you have to use deduction because there is a guy in Dubai and he's really very good.
Does he have a divining rod?
If only. He's got the electronic version.
Oh, okay.
So he can do it that way. But the problem is, if you imagine the cost of that equipment and then the civil works that are involved in digging up what he needs, you're talking 10,000 with him really, and quite rightly so, for that service, which people don't want to do. Yeah. So instead, our boys use a huge amount of experience and also little telltales, to try and work out where the problems are. But sometimes it can be 3 or 4 digs before we're going to get it. And then you're hoping it's only one and not multiples.
So in this big underground leak. What was the problem? What broke?
It's a corner, just literally an elbow.
Oh.
Luckily, that one was nice and easy in the end.
And just over time, it just gave way? Or?
Yeah, exactly. If you so it was directly down from the meter, and then the first elbow that comes in, and we kind of know that that's the notorious one.
And why is that notorious? Why does that? Is just there more pressure there, or?
Do you know? I only have theories. I don't know the actual factual side of it. But if you imagine that corner is at the bottom of a wall. That wall will heat up over time, and the expansion and contraction of that means that in effect that pipe is being pulled and shortened on a regular basis. So that's my theory.
That's your theory. Okay, I like the theory.
I don't know more than that, but it sounds feasible, doesn't it?
And was it an old installation? Was this old?
Yeah, 15 years. No, so it was branches one. So it was kind of an old installation there. So that was an old one. We've had like 2 or 3 of those kind of leaks, including our own place.
Oh no.
Yeah, the landlord, before we were there, went and did a whole bunch of piping works, and we got a message from DWEW, you're 87% up over the last 48 hours.
Hey, that's nice that they let you know.
So, yeah, it is. It's really good now.
I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah, smart meters. That's one of the new new features. Yeah. So you will get that info. So we sent Rene, because he happened to be in the office, like, dude, come on, take a look. And he literally sent this hilarious video of water peeing out everywhere. And I'm like, oh no. So anyway, we've got it. It will be fixed.
And what was yours?
Fine.
What was that?
That was that. So it was just poorly done work on PPR, which is like plastic weld pipe, which luckily we do. We just do it right, and it's so reliable, this pipe, that we treat it like fit it and forget. And but yeah, the technician clearly was not an expert in how to use it, and hence the problems that we have. And we'll charge the landlord not just for the DWEW bill, but also for our time to fix it. His job, and he's agreed. So
really,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's got signed up for quite a long time, so he does not want to get on our nerves this early. It would be a bad move. So we had that as well. We've had roots in pipes, which is always a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
I've got this big tree
Yeah.
in the front of my house. I'm not quite sure where the roots are going.
Just don't think about it.
I'm not.
It's the right way to deal with it until you've got a problem. Because when you've got a problem, it's a nightmare.
So the water supply is not anywhere near where this tree is. So I'm pretty confident water supply is not an issue at this point. I mean, nothing. There's no issues at this point. But I just always wonder where the roots are going.
So
I'm thinking they're going into the neighbor's yard.
That's a nice thought. Yeah. I like your style.
Underneath the wall, that kind of stuff. That's my thinking, because where else would they be going?
Well, the big job that we used to do every 2 or 3 years was, remember my amazing customer, Nargis, who's been with us since the very beginning, bless her. And there we would do the roots and her drains every probably 2 years, I guess.
Really?
And the reason is quite a simple one, which is to actually permanently fix it, it is a mini digger, excavate the entire pipe, cut it out and put a new one in, which is way beyond what we do as a maintenance company. However, we have got plumbing rods with a corkscrew on the end that we can basically put down, twist it and pull. Okay. And we pull and we pull and we pull and we pull. And then eventually you get a whole load of, you know that you've solved the issue. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And away we go for another 2 years until it kind of comes back, and then and it makes sense to do it that way economically. But there are actually the specialist here went under over the recession. It was a real shame. But again, this is one
the
where
roto-rooter guy went under. That's what they call him at home. It'd be a roto-rooter.
Yeah, no.
Got a big truck. He's got
exactly.
He's got the stuff that he can use to get into the piping. And
yes. But that's expensive gear, again. So he was at like 6,000 to get that done. Okay. And unfortunately, you don't get a market at 6,000. That's a real problem. Yeah. And he had the robots to be able to patch pipes. He was awesome. And he'd do a lot for developers as well. But the problem was there just wasn't enough of a market for it. So back to the UK, he's gone.
Our brute labor, when people can just get out there like yourselves, get out there, get a number of hands into it. And, which, when you're talking about sewage, not the best place, but anyway, at least
it's all part of the job.
Yeah.
So that was that one.
Roots.
Yeah. Now here's the one that I loved from this week. Okay. We had an essential maintenance customer, bless him, who posted online to say our AC went off at 1 a.m. this morning. I called the essential maintenance boys because I've got a contract with them, and they were there by 1:45. They managed to fix the AC in the master bedroom without waking my wife asleep in the master bedroom or my kids. And it's like, they only knew that somebody had been in the house.
These are Santa's helpers.
When the morning after, as in this morning, she said, "Did you feel a little bit hot in bed last night?" How cool is that? I was absolutely tickled that that had all happened without even waking up the family. And to me, that's almost the epitome of why having an annual maintenance contract and using it effectively when you need it and it all working, that's what it's all about.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no.
That's a customer who's not going anywhere.
Nah, it's just brilliant, honestly. But that also, I mean, it fills me with pride, that kind of stuff. You know, I really care about the work that we do and the quality that we do, and get so irritated. I mean, the nature of maintenance is, it is not a 100% fixed business.
Yeah.
Things are going to happen, and you know, we've got redo squads for exactly that scenario. Our aim is to get that down, and it really should be at about 0.5%, so 1 in 200 jobs that goes. Yeah. I'm not saying that we always hit that, but that's what we aim for, and that's what we kind of we can hit that most of the time. It's just sometimes it just all goes, especially midsummer where everything's absolutely stressed in the system. Yeah. But it's one of those where when everything just goes right and it's just done exactly as you'd envisage when you set up the systems, it's just lovely. It really fills you with a sense of pride.
How's the call center team doing these days? And I say that only because they take all these calls, they've got to sort through it, they've got to diagnose, they've got to listen to things. There's got to be a book in that. You won't believe what they called me about.
Yeah. Oh, we have that okay. It's an interesting one because what we found over the summer was we were under-resourced. And
People on vacation, just people with...
No, not really vacation. It's just the
turnover?
The sheer a combination of staff that have been with us for years that have departed. And when I say years, like 8 years and that kind of area, leaving, so not as experienced team, combined with a real heavy, hard influx of additional calls. Basically meant we need to look at that whole call centre dynamic again. Right. And where we got to was we installed a whole new, we call it Tier 1, which is that initial phone call as it comes in, where the Tier 1 guys can stream through all of those easy jobs that we don't need to, they're our bread and butter and we can do really easily. They can just put them directly. And then those that they can't go through to Tier 2 and the traditional bookings team that we had before. And those boys and ladies are the ones that will deal with the more in-depth stuff. And it's working really well so far. You find it takes some time to bed it in. And those customers that have been used to talking to those 2 or 3 initial people that they always talk to, or they always ask for Gareth, that becomes a little bit more difficult to do. And that's something we're really aware of. But overall, it's going really, really well. And the people that we've got are just incredible. These guys, the Tier 1 guys, are all from the Philippines, but they've spent years working in remote call centres for, especially US customers, for people like AT&T and a lot of the US banks. So they are used to dealing with European customers. They've done it all day, every day. So we don't have that communication issue, which is brilliant. And also they're used to process, which is critical for us to make sure that they know how to escalate. The escalation process is right as well. So it's gone really, really well. We're going to spend the winter of getting those guys trained up without a doubt and moving in that direction. But the real winner this summer has been Essential. Essential Maintenance has just done so well. People, we were so small. We only started it 3 years ago, and it was so small that it took a bit of time to really get in its stride, but it's absolutely flying now. Nice. And luckily the service, trying to keep up with the service levels and making sure that we maintain
that's the challenge, isn't it?
It's critical, it's absolutely critical. And bless him, our senior bookings manager who looks after the Essential brand, bangs the drum. He bangs the drum hard. And, you know, we sometimes make errors. We realise we had under-resourced him. And so we dealt with it there and then, which is always nice as owners of a business. You go, oh, no. Right, tomorrow you've got another team is coming on that. And but it's growing at such a rate, which is just wonderful.
Cool. That's very cool.
It's people showing their trust in us as well, which is amazing. That's the thing that really is nice. If someone's prepared to actually spend money on an annual maintenance contract, it shows a real warmth towards the brand and a trust in us, and we really do feel that.
Very nice. Hey, I want to move on to just a quick chat about doors.
Yes.
And the reason I want to talk about doors is because I've got a variety of different doors at my own place. And I don't know, I'm kind of infatuated with doors.
Weirdly, I kind of am as well.
Did you like my hack that I sent you? The YouTube hack of the week?
What, underneath the doors, that one? Yeah, it's cool.
With the pool
lagging
noodle?
pipe. Well, there's the pool noodle.
Pool noodle.
But then did you see the lagging pipe, which is the one I really like, because that one kind of fits around the door really well, doesn't it?
What would your wife say if you just said, "Oh, so I'm going to fix that with this"?
She'd shoot me.
Yeah.
However,
so I was wondering if it's a bachelor's place where they've done this for.
Yeah, no, I'd get killed. Let's be honest here.
So my thing was, I was wondering, how does that door actually shut?
Well, you need you would need a heck of a drafty door. So for those people, just so that you're all aware, what we're talking about here is if you imagine a insulation pipe that lags a copper pipe or something like that. Yeah, so the suggestion is to cut it with one line so you can open it out, and then fit it around the bottom of a door that has a draft.
Yeah. So air conditioning's going out, heat's going out.
Yeah.
We've all got this problem. Drafty doors, especially at the bottom. This is the simple fix.
Interestingly enough, I think I'm in the first house that I don't have that.
Really?
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how, but no, we don't have any of the sun coming in
no drafty
on
doors.
This one. Mind you, I think that on this house, probably it may well have been the way we redid the outdoor granite that I've actually put what do you call those?
A little sill.
Yeah, it's a sill, but there's a special word for it, and I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, one of those right over the front of it that I think seals up against it much better than the traditional one. Yeah, it wasn't me; it was just the installation guy. So give us a bit more, and we'll do this. All right. So that really kind of helps. But the noodle idea, if you imagine to be able to get that in, I think you need probably an inch, don't you? Which is insane.
It's a bad door. But
I wonder whether people actually take the door off the hinges and then actually plane it. Oh no, I didn't have enough space. So now I can put my pool noodle in.
I thought maybe someone had taken the door off, was planing it, made a mistake, and then it's like, oh.
See, there's an interesting one that wasn't on that list that we used to use
when we were window
doors.
cleaning.
Yeah.
As found on the internet.
So what we did was we cut a pool noodle down the middle.
So you actually use this technique?
No.
Okay.
So we cut a pool noodle down the middle, and then we would literally push it from the outside underneath the door to stop the water going underneath the door from when we were there. But the problem was it wasn't as effective as you would like. And what we found was that just stuffing a whole bunch of towels there worked a lot better. So in the end, we dumped that after Pinterest let me down yet again. So it's nice in theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how practical that one is. But then again, you can just get the wipers that fit beautifully to a door, whether you get the brush version or alternatively like the solid rubber type, and which will work a lot more effectively for that. Yeah.
Doors are an interesting one because you got a lot of selection. You've got your metal doors, you've got your core doors, you've got your solid wood doors, glass doors. I mean, it's actually pretty incredible when you start looking at the selection of doors you can get for a place and the cost associated with them.
Don't go to Dragon Mart.
Oh, okay, so you don't go to the discount place.
No, there's discount places and then there's Dragon Mart for doors. And I love Dragon Mart. I love Dragon Mart.
So Dragon Mart here is a Chinese wholesaler.
Yes, that's
very good. It's an entire mall. Think of it as a very big mall. It's double. Huge. There's two of them now.
Yeah.
And they've got everything from, and usually, they try to organize things into categories. Sometimes
Have
it
you
works.
noticed how those categories? Yeah, sometimes it works. No, sorry, James, it doesn't work.
When it
bit
first
where it
went in,
does-
it worked, and now
20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. Now it's all
The
messed
bit that works is that the central strip,
Yeah.
right, which is quite clear that the first, if you're on that central strip, you will abide by our rules. After that, we want your rent.
Yeah.
So on that basis, whatever you want to sell, we've got this slot available. Wait a second, I've got hardware products and I'm in clothing. Yeah, absolutely, go for it. Oh, okay. It's one of those, isn't it?
Well, and that's why you always want to know someone who goes once in a while, because they're going to have found some, oh yeah, there's this great place. It's selling this, that, and the other thing. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay, well, you got to go to the textile section. But this isn't textiles. This is like a motorized vehicle. Yeah, it's in the textile section.
Yeah.
It's not in the motorized vehicle section? No.
Don't be ridiculous. You want a pool table, clothing.
So don't get doors though, because you got tile from there. You love the tile.
I know, the tile's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. But no, not doors.
No. Okay.
It's one of those where you've got two options with the door here in the UAE, which is, are you looking for the cheapest possible door and are you planning to move out within 6 months? If you are, go to Dragonmart. Okay.
Yeah.
Alternatively, and again, it's one of these where, in truth, if you're renting, you're not going to do this. But if you own your property, do it properly, okay? Get a carpenter to actually make you a door of the style that you want, or alternatively, there are the aluminium options if that's your penchant.
Here's my problem with my place. It's not a problem at all, actually. It's just the reality is every single door in my place is custom door.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird because none of them are the same. I mean, they're all close to the size, but even the front door, it's not a standard front door.
You know how that happens?
No.
Right. What happens, if you imagine on the construction side, so they put all the structural walls in first of all,
Right.
and then somebody goes with block.
Right.
Okay, and then what actually happens is, okay, that's the plan, so there's a door there, right, there's the plans to one side. Now, the full block basically takes me to this location there. That's about the size of a door. They'll deal with that, okay? And then the plasterer comes in and he goes, well, I can only put in like, 2 centimetres of plaster, and away we go. So 2 centimetres of plaster is exactly what they're going to get. So they then get that, and then they go, right, okay, carpenters, you got a plane? There's your door space. Off you go. And that's literally the level that the UAE will work to when you're outside of a development. If it's EMAR or somebody like that,
then it's standardized.
Totally standardized because they're pre-ordered. Okay. But when you're in an independent villa like yours, that's exactly how it operates.
It's a custom build,
and
which is great. And it's a nightmare if you ever want to get anything replaced, fixed.
Oh yeah,
because and as the building is settled over 20 some odd years, you start to notice things.
But the thing is, within Northern America and Europe as well, they actually have this all worked out.
Yeah.
So there they have oversized doors, which is standard, and then all you do is you plane it down on the outside, whatever it is, whether it's core or whatever. The outsides are designed to be planed down, so that way you can actually end up with a custom size out of a standard door. Here, no. No, it's fully custom. You want that built? We'll build it. But there's some stunning doors.
There are, and that's doors are art. That's the first thing you see when you go to visit someone's place. I mean, you got the lighting, you got whatever. You walk up the steps, and you got your greenery or whatever, and then you confront the door.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an image statement. It says something.
What's happening at that ridiculous place around the corner from you with doors?
Which one?
The one that we were talking about with the ridiculous hinges and all that.
Oh yeah, no one's living there at the moment, so
I can't think why.
No one's there, so it's just becoming dilapidated.
What? That door's worse than it was?
I think so. Yeah, it seems to me they added an extra hinge. So this is an outdoor gate kind of entryway that was beautiful. It had they put in a brand new door. It was nice because it was a mess, and after about 1 month, they put more external hinges on that don't match.
Do you know why? They bought it from Dragonmart.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. They put more on, but there's no one living there at this point.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on.
That is too bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
The wonders of doors. See, the other one that's the classic is what do you do when your door goes a bit yellow?
Yes. What do you do?
So, that is now standard in springs. Because if you imagine it's now, I moved in there in 2005, and it was probably like 2 years old, but I mean, sat around for a while. So 2003. So we're now at 18 years, where they were all sprayed white there, and over 18 years they're now all yellow, along with the kitchens, which is another story. You've got two options: brush paint it, okay?
Yeah, but that could look really bad.
No, it's not that it could look really bad. That is going to look really bad, okay? It's going to be horrific. What are you thinking? No. Right, which is what my dad would do in the 80s.
Brush paint it.
Brush paint it,
My
definitely.
grandfather brush painted his entire car.
Oh, man.
It was a 40 Econoline van, actually.
I love those.
One of those classic ones.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we're
with
talking-
the straight front.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, how could he? And the engine was in the main compartment. They're stunning. What was he thinking?
He needed to paint it.
Oh, man. Right, anyway, back on this. So,
So your dad would do it but with a brush? He would have just got out the brush and...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, luckily, he converted them all in the, must be early 2000s to an absolutely lovely ash finish now. Okay. So he ain't painting anything anymore, thank God. But so your two options now.
Hold on, are these doors wood doors or are these the metal doors?
Yes, the wood doors.
The wood doors.
The wood doors. And they're solid as well,
Yeah,
so
solid
respect
wood.
to Emar for that.
Nice and white.
Yeah. So first
now
of all, they are very yellow. First of all, you have to use some kind of undercoat. It doesn't necessarily have to be primer, but you've got to use an undercoat. Clean the door first, without a doubt, with just some straight cellulose thinners. You need to get all the grease off the door. Imagine 18 years of
People
grease.
forget about that.
Yeah, they do, absolutely. And then you need to put an undercoat on there. If you just use a gloss, you're gonna have a disaster. The question is, where on the door is that disaster gonna happen? So then, once you have put some kind of undercoat on it, let that dry. Ooh, I'm amazed how many people don't actually do the most basic thing. Let it dry.
Yeah, people don't let it dry. They just put it on and, okay, I can paint over it now.
Yeah, and then oil-based paint takes ages. Totally different to water-based. You know, water-based, it's dry in kind of 2 hours.
I think we're used to using water-based. That means that's sort of become the norm. And then when you get something that's oil-based, people go, what, I got to let it dry for 8 hours?
Yeah, and it smells as well, which is the real problem. Okay, so therefore, in effect, it's the next day in truth, unless you've got up at some ridiculous hour to do the undercoating of all your doors, if you're doing it that way. So then next day is top coat. So again, mohair roller for that, if you were going to DIY it. Now the reality is, with a mohair roller, it is, if you use anything other than some kind of flat paint, so an eggshell, or ideally even flatter than that if you can get it, which is difficult, then you are going to see the stipple effect from that mohair roller. There's no way around it, okay? But that is the best DIY option, in my humble opinion.
What about spray cans?
No, you never get the consistency.
No?
No. Okay, so alternatively, you can get your doors sprayed, and there are plenty of people that do it here. But the reality is, it's going to be about 800 a door.
Oh.
Yeah.
But my priming it, cleaning it off first with something, priming it.
If you're gonna get somebody in to do it, let them do it. Do not touch that door. Hand it to them, so that way it's all theirs to get right or wrong. Okay? And then at that point, they will normally take away your door. If they want to do it in location, run.
Oh, so if they say, I can do it here.
Yeah, they will often do that.
They get up sawhorses and away they go, if you're lucky.
Seriously, this is where it goes all badly wrong. Okay? The reality is, unless they have been on an episode of CSI, they are not going to be taping the environment properly.
Yeah.
You will find for the rest of your time in that property little overspray spots all over the place, and guarantee it. So don't do it. So the only kind of compromise which I have seen work is for them to use the garage area, and then literally you need a complete taped area with plastic everywhere to be able to survive it. That I can just about handle. Failing that, away you go in the van with my doors. Come back when they're ready, and if you damaged anything, you'll be doing it again. Always a good caveat, and they know that up front.
But it's about 800 dirhams a door.
800 dirhams a door.
Versus doing it at home, doing it yourself with the mohair roller, you're probably looking at...
Oh God, well, it's interesting. If you're doing one door, your unitary rate would still be expensive because you basically need to be the roller, the mohair, the cellulose thinners, the undercoat, and then the top coat. And by the way, for a door, you could probably do it on a litre. But you know what? I wouldn't. Buy a gallon. It makes much more sense. Now, Where were we? Oh yes, but if you're doing multiple doors, then at that point, if you get through one, and you've still got some motivation left, then yeah, off you go, and then the unitary rate will come down quite a long way.
And how many doors are we looking at in the springs? Front, side?
Oh, I reckon you're doing, well, you're not even talking about exterior doors, so we're on one.
These are all the interior doors.
1, 2, 3, 4 downstairs. I'm just talking one particular type, and another 4 upstairs.
Okay.
Oh, 5, I forgot the master bathroom. Yeah, so yeah, you got your work cut out.
Yeah, it's a lot of doors.
It is a lot of doors. But yeah, so, you know, most people are like, part of a general renovation, doors are included, and there's another 8,000 or whatever to get that sorted out.
Yikes, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. But that could be a fun project too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's the kind of thing, the problem is that people forget that there are 2 sides to a door.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I've done it. It looks absolutely great. Oh, no, you're going to turn it over. And don't turn it over too soon. It has to be solid if you're going to turn it over.
What about the edges?
Yeah, no, edges you can normally do kind of the first stage. It's just you have to be really careful with oil because it doesn't half drip.
Yeah.
And at that point, like a solid oil drip is a pain to deal with, you know?
And you know you're going to see that drip if it's there. Even if it's,
Yeah.
you know, way over in a corner on the side, you're going to see it.
Hey, here's an interesting one I've forgotten on that, which was a law company. Actually, I'm looking out towards where they are. And they were adamant that they did not have the budget to be able to spray. So I said, okay, well, if you're going to do this, a legal firm, okay, if you're going to do this, the only way that I'm prepared to do it is to use the mohair roller method. But again, your doors are all flat. Anyway, we did it, and we did it really, really well. They came and went, that's brilliant. I'm looking at it going, you wouldn't have that in my house. There's no way. But they looked at it, oh, see, we told you. We told you. It's absolutely fine. It's like, okay, these days, I would have rejected that job. This is back in the very early days.
Yeah.
I would have rejected that job just knowing that the quality is not to a level that I'd be comfortable with. But you know what? In those days, we desperately needed the money. And we were doing it all. We'd start at like 4 a.m. in the morning when security started, and then they literally nailed it. We did all of their skirting for thousands of square meters. Wow. It was a big old job, but boy, do we need it. Yeah. So yeah, interesting one.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's an interesting conversation. We covered our wood doors a little bit.
Yes, we did.
Then if we got metal ones. We got all sorts of different kinds of doors. Does anyone really want to put in? I mean, I guess back home in Canada, you do get storm doors that are foam core metal on the outside.
Yeah.
Still in the UK as well.
You normally use it when you like a non-domestic, when if you had
like a garage door or something.
Yeah, something like that. You probably use it, but not really. I mean, you get loads of UPVC in the UK now, which is a great product. It's just the aesthetic that's not so great, but actually, I mean, they're incredibly stable, so very practical, which is the reason why people use them.
Yeah, what a fun conversation today. I think we're going to wrap it up. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to doing our next one, and who knows where we're going to go with that conversation. It's the wild world of DIY with Colin Thomas from Essential Maintenance, and We Will Fix It Dubai.